Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Jan Ladd. Wow. What about that? And Edmy, God bless you. Jane Harrison, Karen Powell, uh, others that I can't see online, but you're somewhere around. And good, 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 good. Very good. And And we are today back. Danny Bird, God bless you. John Whaley, who I saw last night at the Charlotte airport trying to get home from Hollywood. What is a good Southern Baptist preacher doing hanging around Hollywood? John Whaley, you should be ashamed of yourself. John is the head of North America Rooftop Ministries. And he will lead a national rooftop experience from Washington, D.C. on May 2nd or 3rd, somewhere around in there. We will try to live stream that. And I was actually out in Hollywood with him. Great meeting with listening to what God is doing with actors and producers and screenwriters and directors and a handful of young actors. And some of whom I'm sure you probably heard their voice or maybe seen them. And I think they said 10,000 now in a network of believers. If God can do a work in Hollywood, he could do a work even in your city. So great, great experience. Really a wonderful, wonderful time. John Zale right back because he's serving the Lord. It took me 36 hours to get back. I got to Atlanta. We couldn't land. They sent us back to Huntsville. We came back to Atlanta. 2 aborted attempts at landing. That's fun. When you get down right near the runway and then they just jettison the plane right up. You know, the Lord loves you in moments like that. And we had to go back to Huntsville, spend the night there, and then I couldn't get out till late. Yesterday afternoon. Anyway, I'm home now. So God bless you all for joining me today. Lydia, Tracy, Marilyn, my goodness, you guys are probably socked in up there. God have mercy on you. Teresa, Marty, Christy, Ella. My wife was talking about you the other day, Ella. What a wonderful prayer you prayed the other morning on a call. Vicki, Douglas from Benton Harbor, Michigan. Shirley, Arnie. I'm so sorry, Arnie, I did not get home last night, and I'm so sorry I missed the call. Every Saturday night, and at other times, there is a call. Arnie, if you'll type that in, I'll throw it up at some point here. Where people are praying for revival and renewal in the nation. And they're taking a state each night and praying for that state. And then it's an open mic time when people can pray for revival in the nation. And I led that for many years, and now Arnie Clem is leading that and still letting me be a part once in a while. I'm grateful. Denise, God bless you up in Michigan. Darnell, Don Liz, and Chuck King over in Cleveland. My goodness gracious, what a great group this morning. So we're back in Psalm 25, and I'm going to leave my screen and go back to notes that I have, and at some point I'll let you have these notes. What I'm trying to do every Sunday morning in Sunday Morning Manna is say the best praying is Bible praying. You want to pray the Bible. And if you look at Psalm 25, this is our 3rd week on this psalm. What I'm looking for are units. And I showed you this last time. If you have a, let me get a page that's not so much marked up. Here's a page in my Bible that's not so marked up. And you'll notice the paragraphs have breaks between them, not between the verses, but the verses are clustered together. Here's verses 9 and 10 of Psalm 35. And then there's this white space. And then there's verses 11 through 14. And then there's this white space. What the producers of this Bible are trying to tell you is that they believe those verses constitute a unit. And so you begin to look at these units because they constitute big moments or movements, or what I call the bones of a passage. And if you can get a hold of the bones of a passage, then you can export that and pray it anywhere. So let's look at the bones of this passage. Verses 1 through 3. To you, O Lord, I lift up my soul. It's as if I can take my soul out of my body and give it to God to fix it, my mind, my will, and my emotions. It's a reference to the heave offering of the Old Testament, which was usually associated with the peace offering. It's very interesting. In the Old Testament altar at the tabernacle and the temple, there were 5 sacrifices: the sin offering, the trespass offering, or offerings of reparation. But the offerings of consecration were called the burnt, or the whole consecration, the whole life consecration. It's what Paul has in mind when he says, I beg you to present yourself as a living sacrifice. So it's the laying of your life on an altar. The second offering of consecration was the meal or the grain. The King James called it the meat offering. It's a bad translation because it really is from the harvest field. It's the fruit of your labor. And actually, that was laid on top of the burnt offering. It was put on the altar at the same time as the burnt offering. Because I can't say to God, I give you my life, unless I give him my hands, unless I labor, unless I'm willing to serve him. And then you have the peace offering or the fellowship offering. So you have these 3 offerings, in a sense, laid one on top of another. The burnt offering, I give you my whole life. The grain offering, I serve you. I'm willing to serve you. Here are my hands, my labor, my talent, my everything. Show me what I can do for your cause. And then the peace or the fellowship offering. And out of that came the heave offering. It's as if I'm pushing myself up. It's as if I could take myself in my hand and thrust myself up to God and say, here, take me and fix me and change me. I lift up my soul to you. And you get this. I'm going to go over this one more time. You get this. Thou, God, I, they. Thou, I, they. And the they are the enemies. The great enemy we have is the evil one, who has come to steal, kill, and destroy. But the big thing you have to remember is that the devil is not so much your enemy as he is God's enemy. He hates God. He hates the kingdom of God. His desire is a war against God at which he wins and dethrones God. He is deluded even after the resurrection, ascension, and enthronement of Christ, Jesus Christ, in the heavens. The evil one is deluded. And so what he does is he catches me and you in the middle. It's the most terrible thing. It's like someone who is willing to grab a child and say, I'll kill the child if you don't do what I'm telling you to do. We're caught in the middle of the evil one's conflicts with God. And so while God deplores my sin. He also sees at times that my sin is the result of the temptation, the deception of the evil one. And it is certainly because the evil one desires to destroy me, but it's also that I've been caught in the middle of his war against God. And so I get the benefit of this extraordinary mercy, of the constant redemptive action of God to pull me out of the net, to get my feet out of the net, to get me out of trouble, because God has a purpose for us imperfect people. He's teaching heaven, He's teaching angels, and He's teaching demons a lesson. They won't learn the lesson, they will perish ultimately, but we will learn from this lesson when we stand around the throne of God about the redemptive grace and the work of God in a time-space world. And who knows, maybe it won't all be harp music and pineapple juice in heaven. Maybe there will be other worlds, and maybe we will be involved in managing and stewarding those worlds. This is not about how to go to Disneyland when you die. This is a laboratory in which God is fashioning us as a tool for some eternity that we don't understand. But I'm going far too deep into the woods. Here's what you get in verses 1 through 3, the first unit. You get this presentation of a plea. To you I lift up my soul. To you I trust. I'm asking for your intervention. Movement two. Show me, teach me, lead me. Show me your ways, teach me your paths, lead me in truth. Now, these are specific petitions, but notice they're not get me out of trouble, get me out of jail cards. This is very important. This is, I got this, I've got this, you, me, the enemy problem. But the first place he goes, it is not to the enemies. Now he prays earlier, don't let my enemies triumph over me. Don't let me be ashamed, because I'm waiting, depending upon you. Shame is mentioned 3 times in the first unit, first 3 the verses. But when he goes to specific petitions, what he's really praying is that he will be developed in this process. He'll grow in this process. See, prayer cannot be a mere escape from the problem. God, I'm asking you in the middle of what's happening here, and I don't understand it fully, but I've been caught up in some kind of war that is not my own. So I'm asking you, show me, illuminate me, give me understanding, give me insight, teach me, lead me in truth, teach me your paths. And the implication I mentioned last time was the paths in the sea. I mean, who knows the paths in the sea? You've been out on a boat. Can you see the paths? No, this is discernment. Show me the paths like the currents. Show me the paths. And show me your ways, not merely your acts, not merely the things you've done, but your ways. Your ways, the ways of God, the ways of a person are not merely an acts. And then on you, I wait all day long. Where else can I go? I'm waiting. This is a form of prayer. This is a discipline of prayer. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for you to develop me and strengthen me. And if you'll notice at the very end of the Psalm, verse 21, you get this again. I'm waiting. Prayer is a form of waiting. It's not words. It's just waiting on God. It's spending a day, a half day, just waiting by the seashore, in the mountains, in some park, in some place. I'm waiting. I'm not talking all day long. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for a word from the Lord. I trust in you, verse 2. And if you'll go to the end of the passage, verse 20, I put my trust in you. I'm trying to shift my way to faith in God that manifests as a deeper thing, this thing of trusting you, because I got enemies and I don't understand what's happening in my life. And so I'm praying. You cannot simply go and pray, deal with my enemies, fix my problems. The third movement is an appeal to covenant. You find this in verse 7. Remember me, oh Lord, I'm sorry, verse 6. Remember, oh Lord, your hesed, your tender, your agape, your tender kindness and mercy, because they're ancient, they're old, they are before time. Do not remember the sins of my youth, the sins of ignorance, or my transgressions. According to your mercy, remember me for your goodness' sake. Good and upright or just is the Lord. Therefore, he teaches sinners his way. And so we're back to the teaching. He guides the humble. We're back to the lead me. He leads us in the paths that we should go, mercy and truth. The humble, he teaches his way. He guides in justice. And so remember is the appeal to covenant. So and David says, I've messed up. I got a bad record. I got some things on my record. I've had jail time. You know, if you are only going to forgive the perfect, I'm not going to qualify for this forgiveness. But I'm appealing to your character. I'm appealing to the covenant. I'm appealing to your love, to your mercy and your grace. And yet this is not love without truth. This is not love without righteous paths. This is not love without justice and what is right and noble and good. I can't sin in an expensive, without budget way. I can't run the barricades with God and then turn around and just say fix this. But I don't appeal to him on the basis of my perfect life. I say, remember the covenant. We made a deal. I entered into a covenant with you. Remember the night I prayed. Remember when I showed up in your courtroom, because these are legal issues here. These are legal perimeters here. The covenant is a legal matter. It's a matter of law, and I'm appealing to the covenant. You remember, I showed up. I was a sinner. I was your enemy. I had committed high crimes against your holiness, but you forgave me. You not only forgave me, it would have been enough had you forgiven me, but you took me home to live with you. You adopted me as a child. Remember, I've held the cup and the bread in my hand. We have a covenant. We made a deal. That is, you made a deal with me over the body of your son. And you want to do something with me. You started something in him and you want to do that in me. And I give myself to you. And I'm looking at the bones of the passage. I'm looking at the big ideas of the passage. And if you can get a hold of the big ideas of the passage, you can take these bones anywhere. You can understand that when you pray, you present your plea. Thou, I, they. The problem that I have, I'm asking you, don't let me go down in this battle. Number 2, I know there are things that you want to teach me. So don't let me just pray to get out of trouble. Show me, lead me, teach me, develop me. And that means you have to take time to wait on God in prayer. Prayer is not a list that you give to God. It's not a set of demands that you lay on God in 5 minutes of yelling at God, and then you leave for the rest of the day. Movement 1, I make my plea. Movement 2, I commit to wait that God would develop me in this situation, that he would show me, teach me, lead me, the bones of a passage. Movement number 3, I appeal to the covenant. It's one thing to pray as a sinner that's never made a commitment to God, but the only prayer you can pray there is save me, deliver me, make me a follower, put me in your family. But it's another thing to pray from inside the covenant, even if you are an imperfect executor of that covenant of righteousness. You pray from the inside of the covenant. And now you make an appeal based on God's character, based on the covenant, based on his goodness, for his name's sake. Pardon my iniquity, our Father who art in heaven. And then I appeal to his name. Hallowed be thy name. May I live in a way that shows that I respect your holy name. Well, how would I do that? By coming under your kingdom and your rule. That means you've got to show me and lead me and teach me until you reign in my life, until there's righteousness and peace and joy inside of me. Well, how would that happen? Well, that would happen because not my will, but thine be done. I bind my will to your will. And so this is the Lord's Prayer. And in a sense, there's a parallel in this passage in Psalm 25. I'm looking at the bones of the passage. I'm trying to teach you how to pray the big ideas of a passage. You appeal to God because you got a problem, you got enemies. You tell God, teach me in this situation that I'm going through. Let me grow in this situation. I'm going to wait on you. Number 3, you appeal to the covenant. You pray from inside the covenant for his name's sake, that he would assert his will through you and accomplish his purposes. Here's number 4, movement number 4. Now, and this is the only question in Psalm 25. And it is an important question. It's the high mark of the entire passage. Who is the man who fears the Lord? Now, here's the question. Do you fear your enemies, the evil one, or physical enemies, or bankruptcy, or whatever else you're going through, more than you fear the Lord? Because if you do, you're in trouble. You have to have in your heart, etched in your heart, this reverence for God. The fear of God is related to the awe of God. The awe of God is a wonderful word because it's the speechlessness you have before God. We have such an over-familiarity with God. This daddy God that we have, this sweet, kind little toothless handyman who helps us with all of our problems. It is a terrible place the church has descended to in America, to make God our little handyman. And you see, if we have no reverence for God, if we have no fear of God, if we don't stand speechless before this God at times, if we're not awed by him, and if we are not moved by the sense of his justice, you see, you always stand here in the courtroom of heaven, understanding what an unusual courtroom this is. Because in most courtrooms, it is about justice. It's about the law. And justice is blind. But that's not true in God's courtroom. In God's courtroom, he's moved by tender compassion for you. And he ends up taking your sentence. But that doesn't erase the fact that this extraordinary love and grace come against the backdrop of his holiness. And you see, if you simply see the cross, for example, as the love of God, but you don't see it as the judgment of God on sin, your sin, my sin, when that sin was not in Christ, but on Christ, when he took my sin and gathered it to himself, the Father judged my sin that Christ held on the cross. If you don't see judgment, then you don't understand the depth of God's grace and the depth of his mercy. So the question is, do you fear God? What is your view of God? You begin the passage, with this concern about enemies, but your prayer can never be concerned about enemies. It can never be concerned about deprivation and need. And see, that's what our prayers consume with in America. It's all about our needs. It's bad praying. No, prayer is consumed with God, about God. Who is he that fears the Lord? What is your view? What is your view of God? My eyes are toward the Lord. The secret of the Lord is with those who fear him. To them he will show the covenant. So we've been praying, God, teach me and lead me and show me. And then we discover that only when you have this jaw-dropping view of God and you understand who God is, will you get revelation and insight. It's great to have commentaries, but the great breakthrough in understanding is not on the left side of your head. It's in your heart. It's in your heart over an open Bible when you are through the lens of the Bible trying to understand God. And you have this epiphany, this moment in when you see him, and you are unhinged, and you're moved by that. The person who fears God, him he will teach in the way. That person will dwell in prosperity, and his descendants will inherit the earth. I just saw my cousin on here, and I think about the times that we gathered at our grandfather's house. And I think about the times that grace was prayed. And I think about the godliness of that family. And you see, it's not just a matter of seeing prosperity in your life. It's a matter of looking over the generations and seeing the goodness of God as it traces down through the generations of a godly grandparent, and then the children who follow in that path, and the grandchildren who follow in that path. And God traces that lineage, and he begins to bless them. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. The blessings accumulate generation after generation, and those generations experience what is called redemption and lift until they begin to think, I did this myself. No. That's because of an humble, godly, great grandparent who sought God, and the blessings came down. You look at prosperity, not just in the narrow sense of what's happening in your life now, but you look at the prosperity in terms of the blessing of God over the generations before you and the generations that will follow. We got to finish this passage today. And then you come back finally to an earnest plea. So the big bones. You present your plea. I'm in trouble. I got enemies. So I'm lifting up my soul. But movement two. I know that you want to develop me and grow me in this situation. Movement three, I am a believer. I'm not perfect. I'm not appealing to you based on my perfection. I'm appealing to you from inside the covenant based on your tender mercy. Movement number four, the question is, what is my view of God in this situation? And do I see him, or do I just see my problems? And then movement number five is the earnest plea. Turn to me. I am desolate and afflicted. The troubles out of my heart have enlarged. I'm in trouble over my head. Consider me. Forgive any of my own sins. And those enemies that I have, well, they are many, they are increasing, they hate me with a cruel hatred. So I've given my soul to you. Unto you I lift up my soul. Here it is again. So keep my soul. If I commit myself to you, I ask you to keep me and to deliver me. And here it is again. Don't let me be ashamed. Don't let me be ashamed, for I put my trust in you. Let integrity and uprightness preserve me. Now, here's the great contradiction. God answers prayer not because you're good. God answers prayer because he's good. But God answers prayer not oblivious to your commitment to integrity and righteousness. You can't play games with God. You can't dabble in sin and come back to God and say, well, you got me into trouble last time, asking to get me out of trouble again. No, 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 no. There has to be a commitment to righteousness and godliness and holiness. And yet God doesn't answer prayer based on your performance. He answers prayer based on the perfect goodness and godliness of Jesus Christ. I put my trust in you. I don't trust in myself. Let integrity and uprightness preserve me. I wait on you. And then the last movement of the passage, it just seems crazy. Just where does it come from? Redeem Israel, redeem America, redeem North Carolina. Well, where does that come from? Nowhere in the passage is the nation mentioned. Here's the simple connection. Your salvation, your victory is the victory of your family. It's the victory of your city. One poor man, Proverbs says, saved the city. It's a Wilberforce who campaigns against slavery and turns England. It's a Wesley that turns England. It's a Whitfield that prays and turns the colonies. And out of that, an awakening comes, and America is born. One man, your victory could make the difference in a nation. Now, again, I want to take you quickly through the bones of the passage, the big ideas, because if you can get these big ideas, that provides a structure for you to pray. So you make your plea to God. You, God, me, enemies, some problem, some situation. Number two, your prayer can't be about that problem. It has to be about God developing you. Teach me, lead me, guide me. What are you trying to show me? I'm waiting on you. Movement number three. I'm a Christian. I'm trying to be a Christian. I want to be a Christian. I'm not perfect, but I'm not appealing to you based on my perfection, but on your mercy, your loving kindness. I'm praying from inside the covenant. I have a relationship with you, and you said you would teach me and guide me and lead me in right paths for your name's sake, so that I can hallow your name. I'm praying. Movement number four. What is my view of God in this situation with the enemies, with all that's going on? Do I fear him? Do I reverence him? Do I trust him? Am I willing to wait on him? Are my eyes on the enemy, or are my eyes on him? And then the earnest plea. You make your earnest plea to God. Turn to me. I'm desolate. I'm afflicted. I'm in trouble. I got these enemies. My feet are in a net. You make your earnest plea to God. And then you again say to him, I trust in you. I wait on you. And then the final movement, God redeem Israel. This is bigger than me. I want my kids to remember my testimony. I want my kids to remember my testimony. I want to make a difference in my city, my church, my nation, beyond me. This battle is not about me. This battle is something bigger than me. This is Psalm 25. What an incredible psalm. Now, I'm already over. You can get lost in the words of a passage, the verses of a passage. What I'm trying to do is to get you to back off, having explored the verses and the words, and see the bones of the passage, the big ideas, the movement of a passage, and begin to pray those big ideas. Wow, 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 wow. We'll go somewhere else next week. I don't want to wear you out with one psalm. In fact, my plan next week is to go to James chapter 4, and we'll start praying through James chapter 4. Father, I pray for people who need to experience redemption today. I pray for people who feel like their feet is in a net and they're in a battle over their head. It may be a physical battle. It may be a battle with cancer. It may be a battle with a son or a daughter that they're worried about. I just pray that you would touch that person. And we pray, Lord, that our eyes would be upon you and not on the enemy and not on the problem, that we would come to fear you and reverence you and worship you and wait on you. And in seeing you, we would be taught and mentored and led, and you would develop us and grow us until our enemies pale in comparison to who you are. And you would teach us, and we would become what we're not now, what we can never be by ourselves. And we would taste prosperity, not in a material sense, not alone at least, but in the sense of soul prosperity and growth. In Jesus' name. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Jane, God bless you. Jacob, God bless you this morning. And Ella, my dear friend, and Michael, and Levine, and Sonia, good to see you guys on here again today. And my cousin Kathy, and Paul, Dennis, God bless you. Good to see you. And Arnie, and don't forget, this prayer line, you can email Arnie and get information right there. It is. And we're trying to build this into a 24/7 prayer line. Here's what we're trying to do. We're looking for people who will sponsor an hour of prayer Monday through Friday from about 6 to 10 each night. And then we want to build it beyond that. And if you're interested in doing that, you would host an hour of prayer for the nation. And typically it's biblical-based prayer. Just send an email to Arnie and say, I'd be interested in doing this. By May, we would like to have this up so that every night people can go to this place of prayer and they can pray. Daryl, God bless you. Chuck, God bless you. Great number on here today. Hey, like this. I know that's cheesy to say that, but if you'll like this and share this, other people, if it was a blessing to you, will find this, and that would be a blessing. That would be a blessing to us. Keep looking for the 70-day prayer challenge. I think we're pushing that off. I think we're probably not going to do that until about the 10th of June, somewhere in there. And it will be June, July, and in August. And it will be a daily prayer guide, audio video prayer guide that we release. A 70-day prayer challenge. Here's why. 66 days changes a habit. So we're going to round it off to the biblical 70. And we're going to challenge people, pray with me for 70 days, and you'll never be the same again. I'm sorry?
You're teaching exchange February the 9th.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Thank Barbara's giving me cues here. And on February 9 that's a Wednesday at 6 o'clock. February 9, a Wednesday at 6 o'clock, I will start a school of prayer. And it's called The Great Exchange, Why Your Prayer Request May Not Be Getting an Answer. And there's no cost for it. I would recommend that you get the book and the study guide. And you may want, if you teach this, you may want to get the PowerPoint and that kind of thing. But you can order the book and study guide at alivepublications.org. And on February 9, Wednesday, 6 o'clock, I start a school of prayer. God bless you. Have a great day wherever you are, people from all over the place, Canada, the Caribbean, uh, uh, all over the place here. I see on this call today, Pastor Cooper. God bless you. Great to see you today. Have a wonderful day, all of you. God bless you. Bye-bye.